But what they both agree on, right, is the fact that people that are here illegally, especially people that are here illegally and committing crime, should not stay. They should leave. Immigration has always been a very hot topic in America, and that is regardless of whoever the president is or whoever is ruling the country, be it Democrats or Republican. And if you pay any attention to the news, or not just the news, if you pay any attention to American politics in years leading up to presidential election, there's always a conversation around immigration amidst several other things. And this has been around for a very long time, decades, if you think of it like that. And the conversation has always been, how do you control the border? How do you make sure that people don't come in a way that impacts what we have here in this country? So the question, be it the Republican or Democrat side, is not a question of, the conversation is never a question of should illegal immigrants be deported or not. That has always been a thing, regardless of whoever the president is. The conversation, more often than not, is that how do we make sure that the border is well controlled, basically. So, and if you're just paying attention to the news, you see all this news going around like Trump, executive order this, executive order that, executive order this, executive order that. And if you're not a very observant person, you start asking yourself, it makes no sense. Why are people being deported? And the main question shouldn't be why are people being deported? The question should be why is the media presenting this news in a way that makes it sound like legal immigrants are getting yanked off from their house and and being sent back to their home country. So the question isn't should illegal immigrants be deported or not. The question shouldn't be why are illegal immigrants getting deported? Because even when you say that out loud to yourself, it sort of makes sense as to why illegal immigrants are getting deported. So the easiest way to think about it is this. If you have a house and you have a fence around your house, and you come in one day from hanging out with your friends and you realize that, shoot, a guy has been living in your house, right? The guy, from his appearance, is not as well to do as you. He's been living in, say, like additional unit that you have by your house without your permission. Say you're a Democrat, you turned a blind eye. You don't care. Not that you don't care, but I mean, he's here now. Why? You can just stay because it's not causing you much stress. And that goes on and on for a while, right? And then you realize that your opponents or your political opponents or your neighbor, for example, said, oh, you're running the neighborhood. So therefore, you need this guy to go because he didn't even get here in a very legal way. And this conversation comes up over and over and over. Every 4 years, there's always a conversation about that. It would not be unfair for you to tell the person to leave, especially if they've not been kind to your space that you've allowed them to stay in. So that brings me to my first point. Most of the people that are getting targeted by the executive order around immigration right now, for now, as at the time of making this video, they are people that are committing crime despite the fact that they are illegal in this country. And that's bold because if I allow you to stay in my house, despite the fact that you don't have the right to stay there, you want to keep a very low profile. I would not jump into conclusion and say it's going to stay that way. There's a decent chance that things are going to spill over and people that are even here legally are going to be impacted. I don't know. We don't know. Executive orders are flying right and left. It depends on how our president feel at any point in time in the day. But I think there is a huge misinformation when it comes to the conversation around immigration. And the misinformation is that legal migrants are not getting deported. It's the illegal immigrants that are getting deported. And again, it goes back to the analogy of having somebody in your house and then treating your house in a way that even you yourself, would not treat your house like that. Generally, it's a political conversation in America. And you can tell if you've been paying attention to the way things are done in this country, you can tell that neither party is really doing anything to fix the problem of immigration. It's a political point. They tell their supporters that we're going to send out the illegal immigrants, right? We're going to do X, Y, Z. We're going to make our border strong. It makes sense if you hear it like that, right? Trump will tell you, I'm going to build wall. I'm going to make sure that people don't flow into the country. Democrats will tell you, these are people that are fleeing from persecution. These are people that are fleeing from problems in their home country. So as a matter of fact, we should let them in because that is what America is all about. It's the land of the free, allows people to land of opportunity, X, Y, Z. Now, those are two different perspectives. as far as people coming into the country is concerned. So it is not uncommon for a particular administration to allow more people in, aka Democrats, and it is also not uncommon for a particular administration to restrict visa approval or restrict asylum applications and things like that, aka Republican. But what they both agree on, right, is the fact that people that are here illegally, especially people that are here illegally and committing crime, should not stay. They should leave. And to be honest, there's nothing wrong with that. So the question is not why are illegal immigrants being deported by Trump, or why is Trump deporting illegal immigrants? The question essentially is, why are people violating the law of the land when you know you're not here in a legal way? And I can tell you, because I came to this country on a visa, I can tell you one of the hardest things to do is survive in this country without proper authorization. Because most of the things that you need to live a basic life, to most of the things that you need to survive in this country is tied to your visa status. You cannot renew your driving license without an active status in the country, right? You cannot get most things that would help, like renting and all of these things becomes extremely difficult. You have to go through several loops to get through the process. So by default, if you're not here on a particular status, you're at a disadvantage. Why then would you commit crime and put yourself in a position where you get kicked out of the country? So that's a conversation about why Trump is deporting illegal immigrants. And the key word in this conversation is illegal immigrants. I think when the conversation comes up, when people have these arguments, not even arguments, when people have this conversation about immigration, somewhere along the line, the illegal word falls off the cliff and people just talk about immigrants. Okay. I think it's also important to talk about the practicality of the process that the current administration is using. Approach matters a lot in the sense that if you think that you're not impacted, you're not illegal, you're a legal resident or you're a citizen or whatever, but you don't care about the right of the people that are being removed, you should be worried, because if human rights, if fundamental human rights are being violated in the process of removing people, even though they're illegal, what is to say that your rights will not be violated in other instances too? I think that is what a lot of people should be worried about. Let me not say are worried about. That's what a lot of people should be worried about. We should be worried about due processes, right? We should be worried about things being done the way human rights are not violated. So the question shouldn't be why are illegal immigrants being deported. The question should be how can the process be done in a way that it does not impact or it does not severely violate human rights. One of the things that we've seen so far is the idea that there's going to be a detention center comparable to a prison, and that is kind of scary because one time you're walking around, the next you're in prison because you entered the country legally. And also the practicality of it is kind of scary, right? Because there are people, Obama tried to fix this, not fix. Obama provided some sort of temporary solution to this problem when he was the president. And it was about the children that were brought here at a very young age by parents that didn't get into the country in a legal way. And it's an issue, right? I mean, for those that were born here by legal parents, they are fine because they can become citizen. The moment you're born in this country, at least for now, as at the time of making this video, you can still have birthright citizenship. We don't know if that's gonna stay or if that's gonna go. There's a decent chance that it's gonna stay. Those ones don't have issues. The ones that have issues are the ones that are brought here by their parents at a very young age, and the parents came in here without any legal status. And Obama tried to fix this. It goes back to my point to say that there's no reason why those set of people could not be administered and given a particular status, right? And something that is much more protected than you have. DACA is not protected right now, right? Like there's always a conversation about it year in, year out. Every presidency would always try and scare people on DACA. So the point is that people ask the wrong question. The wrong question being, why are illegal immigrants being deported? The right question in this situation would be, why is this process being carried out in a way that potentially violates human rights? And you can't turn a blind eye to that, right? You cannot act as if you don't see what's happening, because you might not be legal, it might not be you today, but tomorrow there might be some policy that will violate your rights and you wish somebody would stand up and speak for you. That is all I have in this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you have some opinion about all of these issues that is going on as far as immigration in America is concerned. And it's also important to point out that this is not just an American problem. Canadians are having the same issue with immigration. Europeans are having the same issue with immigration. Australians, the same issue with immigration, right? The only country that is not having issue with immigration is like the third world country that really nobody wants to move to. And it does not mean they don't have their own fair share of problem. They are being exploited by all these countries that their people are immigrating to as well. So it's sort of like a global issue. And when you approach global issue or when the conversation of global issue comes up, I think it's important to emphasize the place of human rights as you deal with that issue rather than just bulldozing everything away. Okay.